Hi everyone, Comic Book Reviewer here. This time doing another film review, and this one is on Rocky IV. Now, as you know, Rocky IV is a 1985 sports drama film, and of course was meant to be a sequel to the 1982 film Rocky III. And the best way I can describe, obviously, Rocky IV is a little bit of this outdated American propaganda film, but also having a strong message about carrying on one's legacy, feeling responsible for one person, and understanding and seeing from obviously other people that they don't blame you for something that was beyond your control. And I think the whole point of the film is also meant to show how people can change, learn from their mistakes, and be something better. And the premise of the film is meant to follow how obviously Soviet Union Captain Ivan Drago arrives in the United States from the Soviet Union along with his wife. And the best way I can describe Ivan Drago, he's there to be this big, menacing villain, but only says a few lines, but is obviously supposed to be a dark reflection of Rocky, showing no morals, sympathy, and more for glory. Well, obviously, Ivan Drago's wife is meant to show what aging would be like if she never had morals, concerns, and care for others, and is acted more like a yes woman. And we see how Apollo Creed is desperate to take on Ivan Drago to prove himself, as well as to prove that obviously Ivan Drago isn't really all that big. But we see right away after, despite obviously Rocky's sort of being the voice of reason to him, Apollo ends up getting massacred to the point where he tragically ends up getting killed. And you can tell deep down Rocky does feel a sense of responsibility. He feels like he allowed Apollo to die, but of course Apollo was too stubborn, blinded, and more about proving himself than actually seeing things as a losing battle. And of course, he expected Rocky to throw the towel, despite obviously knowing that at some point Apollo wasn't going to be obviously on his full sort of pedestal. And the whole point of Rocky 4 is meant to be about Rocky obviously feeling responsible for Apollo, but obviously carrying on Apollo's work to try and be something better. And I think the whole point of the film is seeing how characters deal with after what happened to Apollo. You can tell Tony doesn't blame Rocky and obviously knows Apollo wants a challenge. He knows obviously he has to kind of carry on Apollo's work. Rocky knows this and has to kind of accept to be something stronger. And you do see the differences between Ivan Drago as well as Rocky's training. Ivan's is more like a sort of machine. It's him sort of pushing himself to its limits. It's like AI. It's like trying to carry on your own work without being original or creative. Where Rocky actually takes time with his training and does it in the middle of nowhere. It's kind of like obviously helping to kind of be something stronger, be something better, be something that people might need. And I think the best way I can describe the final fight is not only does a David and Goliath battle, but a fight between one man who has concern or care for others, while one person is more about himself, but showing no morals, concern, or care, and just more about seeking fame and a means to sort of be this ultimate warrior. And I think the best way to sort of describe what the film is trying to do is show how if someone like Rocky is able to make that difference, anyone can. It just comes from a thing called having morals, concern and care for others, and being something a lot stronger. I think what affects the film a little bit is moments of American propaganda that feels a little outdated. Like, obviously, the whole expedition match, sort of having James Brown having the song Living in America, some characters acting all over the board patriotic, sometimes, yeah, having the Soviet characters racially portrayed as being these cold, distant killers. But I think the whole point of Ivan Drago is that example of this guy trained to be this ultimate soldier, this sort of anti-Captain America. And the best way I can see what Rocky IV is trying to do is about carrying on one person's work, their legacy, and being something a lot stronger, but also knowing not and also knowing when and how to take responsibility for what happened to someone that was beyond your control. So I think the film definitely deserves a thumbs in the middle. It's okay, not the best, but it definitely has its redeemable moments. So, Comic Reviewer here, signing out.